Mhm. I'm really very concerned about the aging of the population. Yeah. See, I was born in 1970, 6 years after the last of the baby boomers were born. Yes. And these real nice employees in the government that say, well, you're not suing me. You would have thought that as soon as they had any knowledge of crime, yes, fraud, waste, abuse, corruption, that they would have just said, well, if I don't do something, yes, he is going to sue me. Now, I've always taken very seriously the liability of having any knowledge of crime. So this is what you did. You played the old boys network. Yeah. But what's worse is, you've gotten stupider the older you've gotten. See, every time that you came your brains, yeah, you came to find out, ouch, you actually removed your memories. You don't have the availability of remembering the last 25 to 30 years of law enforcement. Somebody convinced you that your genitals were more important than your brains. Pooh. And when they did that, yes, they introduced you to the concept that you can have whatever you want, yes, as long as you come to find out. The problem is you got your brains removed every time it took place, yes, and you don't remember the last 25 years of law enforcement. Now, a jury of my peers, yes, I'm going to make absolutely sure, yes, that I emphasize the number of decades that you've been in law enforcement. See, people listen to this kind of stuff. Yeah. So you were a sheriff for 35 years. Yes. And Mr. Budnick informed you that his civil rights were violated. Yes. That his wife didn't appear in court and didn't sign the court order. No. Mm-mm. And you issued it for 10 years. Yes. Now, the state law says that when you have children, minor children in common, yes, you can't do that. So you have to protect the rights of the respondent. Yes. And you can't just make an exception to the laws, Brent. You can't say, well, as soon as you do this, you can motion the court right now. See, that's the problem with issuing this. Yesterday, I told you I had no jurisdiction. I can, and I did, yes, explain to you, right, that when you use a forgery to issue a court order, yes, there's no jurisdiction because of the crime of the forgery. Yes. When you don't require the petitioner to appear in court because in your mind you're protecting the women and children. Yes. It violates her civil rights to not have you issue a court order. It violates the rights of the minors named because they have a right to have their father. Pooh. And there's this idea of you issuing court orders 48 days after issuing a temporary order. Yes. Now, let's say I explained to you in the police department, yeah, I do not have any jurisdiction because you did not protect my right to due process. I didn't receive an actual notice of the hearing. In fact, he couldn't serve me without saying I was there or I wasn't. Yes. It wasn't issued federal law right now. Now, there's a huge lawsuit that you're going to get. When you think that you can use some sort of exception to the actual state and federal laws, where you just say mental health evaluation and treatment if recommended, yes. And then in bullet point number 9, yes, that you will review if the respondent motions the court, yes. There was this presumption, yes, that I had the jurisdiction of law to be able to motion the court. Yes, he does. Now, let's say a judge doesn't actually recognize the laws necessary. Yeah. See, I provided approximately 100,000 of these instructions for order for protection. Yes, we do. And then it says here that the law requires the order to say if the respondent received notice of the hearing and by what method. Yes. Now, in your discretion, yes, an exception to the actual requirements of the law, you decided, yes, that what you'll do is you'll issue it And then if I have a problem, I can motion the court right now. That's not what the instructions say.
Yes.
Now, I sent this approximately 50,000 times.
Yes.
And for some reason, no one wants to do what the court instructions require.
Yes.
And then all these old timers that are over the age of 65 that have been in law enforcement, Exhibit A, Jack?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Court will review upon motion of respondent.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. When you don't do what the law requires,
Yes.
I cannot motion the court. Mm-hmm. Because I would be complicit in
Yes.
the violating of the laws of the United States. Now, Brent, I don't know how old you are.
Yes.
But for you to use the other
Yes.
in box number 9,
Yes.
where you put that little X there,
Yeah.
and then custody of the minors,
Yeah.
and the respondent will be allowed visitation, no contact until there's a mental health evaluation or respondent treatment if recommended. See, the thought was
Yes.
that just because you order, how are you, old timers? You know, for every idiot in the employment of this state that thinks that I'm not going to make absolutely sure that the jury understands
Yes.
that in your 30 years of employment in the state of Washington,
You don't.